Hey there, Grade 5. Welcome back to another amazing explainer right here on Smart Path Academy English. I am absolutely thrilled you're tuning in today because we are diving headfirst into a truly powerful story. It's called Planting the Seeds of Freedom. And in this explainer, we're going to dig deep. We'll look at the very real, intense history behind it, and then we'll break down the specific words and grammar the author uses to just completely bring this world to life. But first, I want you to really think about this question. What if helping freedom meant keeping a secret and planting a seed that might not grow until years later? We usually picture heroes as these loud, famous people marching in the streets. But today, we're exploring how ordinary, quiet people can absolutely change the world, even when they literally have to do it in secret. Okay, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the secret seeds of freedom. Second, history through Angie's eyes. Third, finding the big ideas. Fourth, building word power. Fifth, describing with adjectives. And finally, review and grow. Let's get to it. Section 1. The Secret Seeds of Freedom. So our story is set in South Africa during a really difficult period known as apartheid. This was a system of strict racial segregation that started back in 1948. And under this harsh system, the government actually made it illegal for people of different races to live together or even have the same basic rights. It's a heavy reality to grasp. It wasn't until decades later, and after Nelson Mandela spent 27 long years in prison before his release in 1990, that democratic elections in 1994 finally dismantled the whole system. This intense, dangerous historical backdrop, that's the foundation our story is built right on top of. Section 2. History through Angie's eyes. Now, this story belongs to a genre called historical fiction. And what that means is the author takes a real time and place in the past, like the apartheid era, Nelson Mandela, the actual struggle for freedom, and then blends it with imagined fictional elements. So the author created our main character, Angie, her family, the exact conversations they have, and those tense, secret meetings at the farm. It's like a giant puzzle where history and imagination fit together perfectly, informing us about the past while keeping us completely hooked on the story. The author also makes a super intentional choice about who is actually telling the story. Planting the Seeds of Freedom is written from a first-person point of view. This means the story is told directly by a character, in this case, young Angie, using pronouns like I, me, my, we, and our. And this is a total game changer. Instead of just watching events from the outside, we're right there in her shoes. We feel her curiosity, that desperate need for secrecy, her fear of getting caught, and honestly, her incredible courage. We get to experience this massive historical event straight through the eyes of a kid. Section 3. Finding the big ideas. All right, let's talk about theme. A theme is basically the big idea or the hidden message in a story. And here's the trick. Authors almost never just hand you the theme. You have to play detective and infer it by mixing clues from the text with what you already know. For example, the text shows us secret meetings at the farm. Combine that with knowing apartheid was incredibly dangerous, and boom, we can infer the theme that freedom is worth the risk. We see Angie's family helping in secret, so we infer that ordinary people can help. And because they aren't looking for a round of applause, we discover that courage can be quiet. Make sense? You know, the title of our story actually points to another massive theme, thanks to a beautiful metaphor from Mr. Matsamai. He tells us that freedom is exactly like a seed. Step 1, you plant that seed through secret, brave actions. Step 2, you nurture it and wait. This is the long-term work, right? You might not see anything sprout for years. But step 3, eventually, against all odds, it grows into a mighty tree of freedom and change. The huge takeaway here is that change takes time. You just have to be patient and keep doing the hard work. Let's pause for a quick comprehension check. Good readers are constantly asking questions while they read. So why exactly does Mr. Matsamai pretend to be a hired man on the farm? Well, if you ever get stuck on a question like this, the best strategy is to reread and use your background knowledge. We already established how dangerous it was to fight apartheid, so we can easily figure out that he's in disguise to avoid raising any suspicion from the authorities. He has to completely blend in so he can safely relay his messages. Section 4. Building word power. Authors are super picky about the words they use because they want to build the perfect atmosphere. Let's look at our core vocabulary. First up, suspicious, meaning not trusted. During apartheid, standing out made you suspicious. Resembled simply means looking like someone else. Then we have relaying, which means passing along information. That's exactly what Mr. Motsumaya was secretly doing. Stalked means walking stiffly or angrily with intense purpose. And solemnly means doing something incredibly seriously. Do you see how these specific words just dial up the tension and make the farm's secret actions feel so much more real? Now, let me give you a little reading superpower. Word parts, specifically prefixes. Knowing these unlocks unfamiliar words in an instant. The prefix anti means against or opposed, like in antifreeze or anti-gravity. The prefix mid means middle, as in midweek or midpoint. And trans means across or through, like transmit or translation. Seriously, lock these into your memory and you'll find yourself reading so much faster and with way more confidence. Section 5. Describing with adjectives. Okay, let's talk grammar for a second. Adjectives are our describing words, but they actually shift their forms when we start comparing things. A standard descriptive adjective just describes a noun. For example, a suspicious man. But if we're comparing two things, we use a comparative adjective. Usually you just add er or the word more, like saying someone was braver or quieter. Now, if we compare three or more things, that's a superlative adjective. Think ESSed or most, the bravest or quietest person in the room. And then there are irregular adjectives, which just completely throw the rules out the window. You don't say good, gooder, goodest. No way. You say good, better, best. Master these forms, and your writing is going to pop. Section 6. Review and grow. We've covered a ton of ground today, so if you remember absolutely nothing else from this explainer, lock in these 3 major takeaways. Number 1, ordinary people can make a massive difference. You do not need to be a celebrity to fight for what's right. Small, secret, brave actions truly matter. Number 2, text evidence plus background knowledge is your secret formula for inferring themes in historical fiction. And number 3, change often grows slowly, just like a seed. That difficult work is always worth continuing, even if the results take years to show. You guys have done fantastic work today. You've expanded your vocabulary, unpacked some really complex themes, and experienced history from a totally new point of view. It leaves us with one pretty big question to think about. What quiet seeds of courage and kindness are you going to plant in your own community today? Subscribe to Smart Path Academy English for more Grade 5 English lessons. Keep reading, keep growing, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.